How's it going, guys? So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a DIY hitting insert for your indoor golf simulator. If you've been following the channel, you'll have seen that I've released a video showing you how to make a DIY style hitting insert a few years back, but I made some changes and I've tested it over the last year, and this is by far the best hitting insert I've ever used in my indoor golf simulator that I've had for over 3 years now. So I'm going to show you guys how to make it and the new changes that I did to this board. One of them is including a T insert, which these divot style boards don't allow that to happen because they do have a polycarbonate board that runs along the bottom of them. But in this video, I'm going to show you a workaround to be able to add a T to your hitting insert. In addition, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. So as long as you are subscribed to the channel, like and comment down below, I am going to pick somebody and build them their very own custom DIY hitting insert that'll save you the whole process of having to make one yourself. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and we'll pick a lucky winner. Links to everything I used to build this are going to be in the descriptions down below. Just go ahead and click the descriptions. I'll try to leave as much as I can on Amazon since I know it's the most convenient for everybody to use. But check the descriptions down below for all products seen throughout this video. And if you're interested in building an indoor golf simulator like the one behind me, check the channel out. We have a lot of videos showing you things to think about and how to build one of these in your very own home. We also offer free consultation where we will help you over the phone, through email, through text message to get you on your way to having one of these in your house, because it is amazing and I highly recommend it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get started with the video.
The items you're going to need for this build are max strength Gorilla Glue, 30-pound double-sided mounting tape, 1-inch foam strip, a removable white chalk marker, a heavy-duty snap blade for making cuts, a 3/4-inch high-density plastic board, artificial putting turf or a material of your choice to go on the top, and finally, but most important, Lexan. I recommend going with 0.093 of an inch thick. You can find it on Amazon. If you use the drop down, you can see different sizes. You may be able to find a size that works for you so you can avoid the cutting process. I recommend going with 12 by 24 or 12 by 36. You can also source it locally from Home Depot or Lowe's. And if you want to add the T holder, you're going to need a rubber T, a step drill bit, and if you want to add double-sided Velcro tape, this is optional. You're going to want to start by marking out your piece of Lexan to the dimensions you want for your hitting insert. When you have that marked out, go ahead and just set a saw guide to get nice, clean, straight cuts, and just use a standard circular saw with just a regular blade. Cuts through the Lexan perfectly. Again, I recommend using Lexan because I have worked with this and this cuts really well. There are some other types of boards that may not work as well, but just stick with the Lexan. So using the same method, you're going to cut out the two end pieces for your hitting insert. I marked out 2-inch strips for mine. I recommend going with that, as the Velcro strips I linked down below in the descriptions are 2 inches wide exactly, so it just saves some time trimming. Once you have the first piece cut out, go ahead and line it back up on the board, and using your white chalk marker, mark that shape out so you're ensuring that you're cutting both to the same exact size. Reset your guide and go ahead and cut that piece out as well. Once you're done, you now have your two end pieces that are ready to adhere to the piece of Lexan that we cut out in the step prior. Before moving on to assemble your board, you're going to want to determine the hitting location of where that new insert's going. Just use your chalk marker, mark out the location, and test it out. Make sure that's where you want it, and then trace that piece of Lexan out onto your turf so you have a line to cut.
All right, now that I have my mark cut out, start by cutting the turf out first. And I just have the gym mat under here, so I'll make my cut here to remove the turf, and then I'll trace another line onto the gym mat. So basically, with the hitting insert, since you're hitting this direction, you want to make sure to have a nice tight cut front to back. And with the hitting insert, since it dips down, the one I'm using anyway, it needs to kind of retract up after the shot, so you want a little more room on the side. So I'm going to make my cut inside the white line on front to back, so it wedges in there nice and tight front to back, and then I'm going to cut right on the line for the width to give it just that little bit of space to allow the board to come back up. And now I'm going to start by getting my level lined up with the line, kind of just hold it down with my knee, and then just insert my blade and just hold the blade as straight as possible and follow your straight edge all the way down. And again, I'm going to move over to this line now. Same process, line it up, get it nice and straight, and then just use your knee to hold your straight edge flat. And now for the front and the back, I'm gonna line it up and cut inside the line just barely. And the corners, I'm gonna kind of just work those carefully so I'm not going outside. And then just make sure that it is cut all the way through. All right, one more cut for the back side. Same thing, I'm gonna cut just inside the line. Just make sure to hold that edge flat against the straight edge. Now I can just peel the turf back, use the blade to get any pieces that didn't go all the way through in those corners. See if I got enough space. So I'm gonna drop my board in there, and I can see it is tight fit front to back with no movement. And then on the side, I have about 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch here, which is perfect. So that should be good for the board to allow it to come back up. So now I'm just gonna remove this out of the way, and I'm gonna do the same process. I'm gonna draw and trace this line all the way across onto the gym mat. And now I got my cut, so what I'm actually gonna do is roll my turf back and pull those gym mats out that are being cut. So that way it's just easier to do it to have a nice straight cut on a tabletop. All right, now with my hitting insert taken out and out of the way, I'm going to just, again, use the level. The goal here with this is to remove the white. So you don't wanna leave any white behind or very little white. So you know that that's a nice tight fit for the hitting insert since we have that cut out in the turf. And this was traced inside of the turf, so this line would be up against that ridge. I'm just gonna start on this side, and I'm just basically doing it over the gym mat, so I'm not cutting my floors. All right, and I can actually undo these, just make sure my cuts are clean and all the way through. So I'm just gonna go through here holding this upright and just go straight down. Move this centerpiece. I'll just kind of keep this intact in case I want to pop this back in there if I want to get rid of the insert for any reason. And now that that's done, I'm going to take the whole thing, slide it back over, and lock it back into place. And then we can just drape our turf back over, and if all the measurements were correct, it should be a nice perfect fit, and it is. So now I'm just going to get a wet rag and wipe off all the chalk marker. All right, and get that all cleaned out so it's ready for the insert.
Now that you have your turf prepped and ready for the hitting insert, we can grab our piece of Lexan, and you want to remove the plastic film from one side of it. Then you want to take your Gorilla Glue and place a bead of it all the way around the perimeter and then on the inside in zigzag patterns. You don't want to get too crazy with the amount you use, as down the road, should you ever decide to change it, it just makes it a lot easier when you peel it back off. Now grab your piece of turf and carefully place it over the glue. You want it to overhang on all sides. It'll make it easier to trim off after it cures. Then carefully flip it over and make sure all the glue is adhered to the bottom of the turf, and then you can just put something like a cutting board on top of it and some heavy weights, and you want to let that cure at least overnight. Up to 24 hours is better. Now that your glue is fully cured, go ahead and remove your weights from the top of the board, and you want to grab your snap blade and just carefully trim off the excess turf along the edges. You can hold your blade flat against the piece of Lexan. This will help ensure you have nice clean cuts. Now take your two end pieces and carefully clean them off with some isopropyl alcohol. Then take your 30-pound double-sided tape and put 2 strips on each end piece. Now remove the protective film from the bottom of your Lexan and also the 2-sided tape, and then carefully align the piece with the end. You want it flush all the way against the end and carefully press it into place. Then repeat for the other side. We can now clean off the bottom of the Lexan in preparation for the foam strips we're going to be putting on the bottom. Then grab your white chalk marker, and you want to make marks on the center of the hitting strip, just on the risers like I'm doing here, and then about 2 inches from each end piece on both sides. The reason we're doing this is when we put our foam strips on, we want them to be perfectly parallel with each other and even all the way across the length of the board. Now grab your 1-inch foam strip and cut 3 equal length pieces that fit in between the 2 riser pads. Then simply remove the adhesive backing, and using the white chalk markers, just carefully span it across the length of the board from one marker to the next, ensuring that they are nice and straight. Should you decide to add the optional Velcro strip, go ahead and just grab it and run a piece across the end pieces and then just cut to length. One thing I will say, if using the Velcro, it's extremely difficult to pull off once it's in place. It does require kind of moving your turf and moving your gym mat to be able to get your fingers under there to remove it. Now your hitting strip is basically done. Everything should look nice and neat all the way around. I'm going to show you how to add a tee holder to this setup, but should you choose to just use some of the plastic tees that sit on top, I'll link some of those down below as well. I also recommend grabbing some scissors and just trimming out all the way along the edges to make everything look nice and neat.
All right, now that we have our board basically complete, the next step you want to do obviously is test fit it. And I'm going to go one step further and add a tee location into my board. So if you want to be able to put an actual tee into your divot style board, this is how you're going to do the process. So you're going to take your board first and foremost. We don't want to peel off the sticky adhesive yet. At this point, we want to make sure everything fits before we do that. And you can see mine just drops perfectly right into place. Has a nice flat edge here for putting. Again, you want to make sure all your measurements are correct. So now I want to find my tee location. So this is the tee that I've been using for the last year. And basically what I'm going to do is drill a hole out into my polycarbonate board. And I want to find out where that location should be. So I don't want it in center. I'm going to put it just a little bit off and forward until we find that location. So right there is a perfect location for it. It can see the ball. And then again, if I go to center, for regular shots, it can see it, and then if I want to go a little bit to the side for putting, it can also see it. So this is a good location, so I'm going to mark this right here and then drill my hole out for it.
Once you've determined your tee location, you're going to want to take your white chalk marker and mark that out onto the divot strip. Then grab your tape measure and take your measurement, and you want to transfer that measurement right underneath to the bottom of the board. That way you ensure you're in the right spot. You're also going to want to confirm that you are not in the way of the foam strip, so just take that into account.
Okay, now that I have my mark to drill out, I'm going to use one of these step drill bits, and I'm going to drill it down to 5/8 of an inch. So the goal is that the tee will feed in through the bottom and have a nice snug fit, and it can just sit in place since it's a little bit higher than the mat, but you'll see that once I get it installed. I'm just going to put something underneath here. Don't worry about my counters. These are getting replaced here in the next week, but I got something to protect them anyway. So you want to just keep working it down till you get to that 5/8 of an inch step. It's going to clean it up a little bit more. And now I can see that I am through the turf. Test the tee out, see if it fits in there. And it does. So now you can see that we have our tee in there. And it is a nice tight fit. It doesn't stick up too much based on this size. Again, 38 millimeters is the good size I found. And as you are hitting the board and doing the divot action, it works perfectly. When you push a tee in, it holds it great. It looks clean. You definitely want to go with the black color just so you're not getting misreads from your launch monitor if you pick something like white or yellow. So just keep that in mind, but I'll have these linked down below. So this is basically it. I'm just gonna, again, test fit it into place, make sure everything looks good, and then we can adhere it down to the floor. All right, now that we have our pad completely done with our T-peg in, before I remove the adhesive and put it into its location on the floor, I'm just going to, again, test fit it back into place and test out the new tee location, and it looks really good. I really like this offset location. You don't want it in the way of your swing just so you're not catching this rubber. And again, I've been using it like this with no issues. These will wear out, but when you buy them, you get a 5-pack. After so many hits, they might tear. I've had one that lasted a couple months and one that lasted a couple weeks, so just keep that in mind. But I really like this method. Again, we can set it here and do putts down this side, hit iron shots from the center, tee it up with driver, and then also if you want to play like off a tee with a 3-wood, the height that this sets is like perfect just to have you like a nice high tee height if you want to hit iron off the tee or, like I said, a fairway wood. So I'm going to get this basically removed. I'm not putting mine in place just yet, but all you're going to do for this process, just clean off your flooring with some isopropyl alcohol. You're going to peel back this 3M sticky sided tape, get it into position, and once it's in position to where you want it, because again, you want that gap, that even gap on both sides. So since you gave it a little bit of room left to right, but none front to back, you want to get it pretty much as center as possible. And once you have it there, you're just going to step on that adhesive and put it into place. And then if you ever need to take it out, it just has that Velcro effect. So that's basically it. I'm just going to hit a few shots and close this video out. Whoa, that was popped up. But you can see it works, and then the tee just comes right out, and that little rubber tee that we put in the mat, it won't move. It's never come out in the whole year that I've been using this. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you on the next video.
Today's sponsor is Salt and Vinegar Chips.
You're weirdo.